everybody, welcome to another Nephilim Builds. It's Pride Month and we're celebrating by making various LGBTQIA+ characters in media, because fuck Trump. Today we're going to shrive clean the hearts of men as Miquella the Kind from Elden Ring. As always, keep in mind that these videos are about catching the spirit of the character rather than capturing their abilities perfectly. With that said, let's address the obvious. So Miquella is obviously gender fluid. Miquella is his boy name and Trina is her girl name.
But Nephilim, Miquella, and St. Trina are two different people.
One, it's called media literacy. I know you're all tired of hearing that, but there really is a serious lack of it these days. Second, they're magical gods. You expect them to play by the same rules as us? They're two halves of the same whole. Those halves are different genders. Miquella is gender fluid.
But Nephilim, Miquella gets rid of St. Trina.
That's because they represent how people with non-conforming gender identities are expected and sometimes forced to conform in order to succeed in society. More specifically, they represent the ones who willingly try to conform because they think it will let them change the system from within and make things better for everyone like them. Except it doesn't work like that. You can't change an oppressive system by joining that system. You just become part of the problem and you end up hurting the people you were trying to make the world better for. And all the while, your attempt to conform to make this change happen becomes a cage as you become a dim shell of who you were. Now, because I know how internet trolls are, let me make something clear. Just because the solution in Elden Ring is to kill Miquella does not mean you do the same to real people. But we can call them out, hold them accountable, and maybe vote someone better in. Now what were we talking about? Right, D&D. Time for ability scores. Using the standard point array, we put the 50 into charisma. Charming people is Miquella's whole thing. Also, not gonna lie, a world where everyone is physically incapable of hate and discrimination, looking really good these days. Next, we'll put the 14 into dexterity and the 13 into constitution. Kids are pretty spry and way more durable than you'd expect. We'll put the 12 into intelligence for some golden order incantations and then the 10 to strength. Those arms are noodly, but Miquella has height. Lastly, we'll dump wisdom. I'm gonna make everyone be nice to each other is the kind of innocently short-sighted plan that a child would come up with. For species, we're going to go with Azamar. They're the child of a goddess and an Empyrean to boot. We get dark vision at 60 feet, celestial resistance, healing hands, and the light cantrip. We'll make a custom background putting our increases into charisma and constitution. We'll pick persuasion and religion for skills, the tough feat, and proficiency with smith's tools. Miquella did make Melania's prosthetics after all. Moving on to class, we're going to go with Bard, the perfect class for inspiring a group of followers with the promise of a world full of love and compassion. And a little bit of mind control, of course. And actually, let's talk about that because I want to address the allegations. So, Miquella obviously uses mind control, no two ways about it. And yet, if you look at the followers of Miquella, it doesn't quite work the way you think. They're all loyal and devoted to Miquella, but not all in the same way. Lita is a full-on true believer, while Ansbach displays more of a respectful fear for Miquella. Meanwhile, more in the Forager brood see him as the parental figure Melania would never be. Hornsent is almost begrudgingly loyal, while Theolia is blatantly more devoted to St. Trina. Dane never speaks, and Freya is just happy to be included. They've clearly been forbidden to fight amongst each other, but otherwise don't seem to be following any sort of instruction. And their personalities don't really change much when the charm is broken. Lita even hints beforehand that they'd all be at each other's throats without the charm, which really feels more like projection considering she immediately starts hunting the others. So when you take all of this information and apply it to Moog, you realize he never actually beat the allegations, we all just got distracted by memes. Miquella needed Moog around to serve as a vessel for Radahn's soul, and he needed to get to the Land of Shadows. Everything else is all Moog. Hell, he kidnapped Miquella before he got charmed. And let's be clear, just because a predator gets roofied by the miner they were trying to prey on doesn't change the fact that they were trying to prey on that miner. Bad people are still bad even when bad things happen to them.
But Nephilim, what about Miquella marrying his brother?
Well, you know how kids will sometimes say they want to marry their parent or their sibling because they're too young to understand what that actually means? It's basically that. There's also no evidence to suggest that Miquella was ever attracted to Radahn. He just wanted someone powerful and kind to enact his will. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to justify anything Miquella does, I'm just tired of all the Miquelested jokes. Don't worry, I'm done, the rest is just the build. We get dexterity and charisma saving throws and take history, arcana, and medicine for skills. I'd say a good 80% of all his research and planning was to help Melania and Godwyn. He'll also be proficient with light armor, simple weapons, and 3 instruments. None of these matter, so we'll just take the flute, the lyre, and the pan flute. At level 1, we'll get Bardic Inspiration and 2 cantrips. We'll take Prestidigitation for effects and Starry Wisp for a Discus of Light. We'll also prepare for spells taking Sleep for a smidge of Trina. We'll also draw 3 blanks. And yes, there are spells we could take, but we're gonna get them anyway. At level 2, we'll get Jack of all trades and expertise, picking Persuasion and Religion, and draw another blank. At level 3, we'll get Celestial Revelation and our Bard College, taking the College of Glamour for Beguiling Magic and Mantle of Inspiration. This automatically gives us Charm Person for some charms and Mirror Image. You can ignore this one. We'll also take Crown of Madness for some charms with a floating head symbol and swap a blank for aid for HP. At level 4, we'll take the Inspiring Leader feat, Rounding Charisma. If you're going to start a new religion, you need to know how to give a sermon. We'll also take Friend's Suggestion for more charms and swap a blank for Cloud of Daggers for multi-layered Rings of Light. At level 5, we'll get D8 Inspiration and Font of Inspiration and take Enhance Ability for Super Shaman feats. We'll also take Dispel Magic for Law of Regression. Also, I know he doesn't use most of these in the boss fight, but he went deep into Golden Fundamentalism. That kid invented spells. At level 6, we'll get Mantle of Majesty to spam Command for more charms. We'll also draw another blank. At level 7, we'll get Counter Charm and take Compulsion for more charms. Getting tired of that yet? Don't worry, we're getting close to level 10. At level 8, we'll take the Wardcaster feat, bumping Charisma, and draw a blank. At level 9, we'll Expertise Arcana and Medicine and take Gesh for longer lasting charms. We'll also draw another blank. At level 10, we'll get D10 Inspiration and Magical Secrets. Spoilers, most of them are gonna be Cleric. We'll take Blade Ward to fill a slot and Guiding Bolt for a bigger Discus of Light. We'll also swap a blank for Dispel Evil and Good for an Unalloyed Needle. At level 11, we'll take Summon Fiend and swap a blank for Summon Celestial. Start with the Fiend in Yugoloth form for Phase 1 Radahn, and then the Celestial in Defender form for Phase 2. Bonus points, both are large, so you could piggyback either of them. Also, side note, when I first did that fight, I jokingly said, "What, are you gonna pull a Lothric and Lorien?" And then they did. At level 12, we'll raise a Constitution and swap a blank for Counterspell for more aggression. At level 13, we'll take Death Ward because it's good and swap a blank for Phantom Seed to summon Torrent. At level 14, we'll get Unbreakable Majesty to radiate Charm and swap a blank for Mass Suggestion. And we've still got 2 more to go. At level 15, we'll get D12 Inspiration and take Glibness for Super Persuasion. At level 16, we'll raise our Constitution. Miquella and Radahn have so much HP. At level 17, we'll take Antipathy Sympathy for an Aura of Charm. Finally, we are done with the charms. At level 18, we'll get Superior Inspiration and take True Resurrection. We took the summon spells just to mechanically include Radahn in our kit, but lore-wise, Miquella had to resurrect him first. At level 19, we'll take the Boon of Fortitude, capping Charisma. Thought about taking Fate, but Miquella is literally fated to fail at everything. We'll also take Sunburst for Light of Miquella. Lastly, at level 20, we'll get Words of Creation, giving us power words Heal and Kill. We'll have to ignore these, but we will take Steel Wind Strike for the multi-light clone attack. If Miquella can let Radahn do it, he can do it himself. I will always accept an excuse to take this spell. Now that we're level 20, we finally have our modifiers. Our unarmored AC is 12, our movement speed is 30, and our average HP is 263 with 20 d8 hit dice. So much health. And with that, we are done. Now what can this build do? First and foremost, we are the literal God of Charm. A multitude of mind control methods and a minimum 32 persuasion with glibness means we'll pretty much always get our way. We also ended up with some of the thickest HP we've seen on the channel, and it's on the eternal 12-year-old. We also have 2 options for our bodyguard. For weaknesses, our AC is laughable and we don't do good against grapples. Unga Bunga build, strike again. We've also got no melee options and really just very few damage options in general. Weaknesses aside, our journey will be one of love and compassion. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to support my channel, there's a link to my Patreon down in the description. $1 a month gets you 2-day early access to my videos and access to all of my homebrew content. Let me know what you thought of this video down in the comments, and I'll see you all next time when I make Tosh from Dragon Age.